Mods and Rockers 2017, Christchurch. Today, first European put on the annual Mods and Rockers in Christchurch. It's been going since 2009, and in fact it was the first time I've attended this since 2009, since I've had no Vespa to participate in the activities. Anyway, just filming a few bikes. These are the Rockers arriving, a couple of Nortons, a Triton, which is a mix of a Norton frame and a Triumph Bonneville engine, a few Guzzis, Triumph Rocket, Guzzi V9. So I was lucky, first European let me ride a Moto Guzzi V9 Roamer today, a bike I've been keen to ride, and it was great to take the bike out. And here come the mods. The Vespa 300 GS. What looks like a PX, but I think it's a Star. It's the Indian made Vespa. A couple of old wrap Vespas. In fact, the orange one hadn't ridden since I've been wearing nappies. It was the first time on the road since 1979. Lee carefully put in a PX engine in that one, and this is the bike I took out for the ride.
Shit, this is cool!
Great sounding V9. It's a relatively new bike that's out in the market. Something I haven't really been overly keen to try out. More of an American style Guzzi. I kind of prefer the more classic European looking ones, but it's actually really fun to ride. I'm going to do a bit of a review in a video in a couple of days' time, so watch out for that. Anyway, EJ and I pulled over to take some videos and photos of bikes. EJ is one of the two photographers for Riders of Christchurch, so many people in Christchurch, or riders in Christchurch, often get their photos taken on these sort of rides. So if you haven't heard of them, search for them on Facebook. You might find your mugshot there on your bike. So it's a relatively good turnout. It was forecast rain. I know the first event I attended, I think it was about 200, 300 participants at that event. But it's just unpredictable weather, and it was supposed to be pretty bad rain for the day, so we were quite lucky it all went ahead. That's a nice V7 that's been done up as a scrambler. Here I think Johnny's bike had its day, unfortunately. It's a mattress that the Smash Palace have been doing up for a couple of years. Great sounding exhaust on this bike. Obviously not stock, but it sounds very impressive. Here everyone's regrouping, catching up. I try and pelt it a bit to get ahead, to get some video. So the Mods and Rockers, for those who don't know the history, Brighton in England in the 60s, there was a few clashes, two youth subcultures, the Rockers, who mostly rode Triumphs, Nortons, the whole cafe racer scene, versus the Mods, who were another group of young people who mostly rode Lambrettas and Vespas, often met at Brighton, which is south of London, and clashed, and there were some famous situations that happened during the 60s. Of course the public hated it because it sort of was quite destructive of the area. But anyway, from that, this scene has carried on through, and we celebrate it every year with a few games. So to the left we've got the mods, and to the right we've got the rockers, who can't count because, come on the mods, they didn't have the right number of members on their team.
We are the mods, we are.
So there's some great films depicting this era. I believe there's one with Sting, I can't remember, I think it's called, I can't remember the name of it, I'll put it in the description. Sting plays a mod, and it sort of depicts the scene at the time. I think the film was made in the 80s. Quadrophenia, that's the name. So check that out. Also the Who were quite a soundtrack for the whole scene. Here's a who can ride the slowest competition. Obviously sped up because this video will probably be about 3 hours long. Quite difficult for the rockers because we had a bit of a gradient on this side. But at half time, both teams swapped around, so obviously it created the handicap for both teams. That's that nice Guzzi scrambler again. Then we moved on to plank walking. Kind of reminded me of balancing carbs, so it's all about synchronisation. We've got the rockers, or a mixture of rockers and mods actually, towards us, and the mods on the other side. And a little corgi who was riding on one of the scooters for the day.
Yes.
One for the rockers. I was swinging from both teams. I didn't know who to support, mods or rockers. And this is the beer and spoon race, or egg and spoon race mostly, but Brent had to put a beer on his spoon. I was actually quite thankful I wasn't taking part in this part.
Oh, jeez! Oh, bloody hell! Bloody hell! Oh, it's not finished! Oh.
Being quite drizzly, it was quite slippery. A nice sound of the original scrambler. I say original because there's a new one come out, but this one's got that 90-degree crank that gives it that distinctive sound. Anyway, back on the V9, and we head towards Smash Palace, which is a great little venue. Often have a bike night on a Thursday night in the heart of Christchurch. As you see, buildings are propped up with containers because we've had earthquakes over the years. Going through a bit of a rebuild process, even though it's 6 years later. Andy's Thruxton, which he's done up, and a couple of other bikes that First European have done up too. Not that one though. There's Lee's Sportique, which hadn't been ridden since 1979. First day today.
We're going to actually equal out the rows here because the rockers won it in a 4-5 decision. As usual, be on display at the shop, and yeah, we look forward to playing for it again next year.
Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. Watch out for my next video. Should be the Guzzi V9. Anyway, see you later. Cheers.